Hello and welcome to the Israel Guys and the Land of Israel Network, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. So happy to have you with us here on the beautiful Mount of Blessing, deep in the biblical heartland of Israel. I'm Luke Hilton here with Joshua Waller and Rabbi Jeremy Gimpel. Unfortunately, Ari is not feeling so great today. We hope and pray he'll be back with us next week. So lots happening in the land of Israel this week. We're recording on Thursday, January 30th. 3 Israeli hostages set to be released from Gaza and 5 workers from Thailand, which I didn't know, by the way, that there was foreigners still captive in Gaza.
Well, aside from Americans, you know Americans were in there, right?
American Israelis, right. But these are migrant workers from Thailand, and I believe one from Nepal and one from Tanzania as well. Still hostage, set to be released today. By the time you watch this, probably are already going to be released. Another 3 Israeli hostages set to be released this coming Saturday. Lots happening with the Trump administration. We're, 10 days in right now? And some very significant things is he found $50 million in random aid for Gaza, supposedly going for condoms in the Gaza Strip.
I like nobody, random aid.
Nobody knows really. Says obviously they're using, whatever they're using in millions of dollars worth of aid is going to make bombs or weapons to kill Jews.
I would love to know who was the person that said, what we need to do?
$50 million.
We need to take taxpayer dollars and we need to send them condoms to make balloons to help blow up more stuff in Israel. Let's do that. I
would like for Americans to just take a moment to be outraged that $50 million of your taxpayer money was going to condoms in the Gaza Strip.
Well, the stupid thing is who would ever dream that would be used to make bombs? I mean, really, that's stupid. It's so far out that you would never. Who would connect the dots of that? That was to make bombs. Yeah,
concrete
that's insane.
Bombs. Food bombs. Humanitarian aid. It doesn't matter. It goes to make weapons to attack Israel. Trump also signed an executive order to deport pro-Hamas activists who break U.S. law this week, meaning. If you're, because he's in the order, he specifically recognized the rise of anti-Semitism since October 7th. And he's now saying, if you're part of this group and you're breaking American law and you're on a U.S. visa, you're out of here. Trump also invited Bibi Netanyahu to the White House. We'll get into more of that soon. Bibi is going to be the first foreign leader to visit the White House in Trump's new presidency.
Big deal.
Very significant. And the U.S. administration seems to be really when they first talked about relocating Gazans to other countries, nobody really thought it was like a serious plan. It seems to be a little more serious now. We're going to get into all of those details. And
I think President Trump has already done more for America than the last administration did in 4 years.
Hold on. You just said something that everybody's like, what did he mean Israel?
I meant for America.
That's what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is that if we are actually able to relocate the Gazans, and that's the only thing that he does, he will have been the best president the United States has ever seen.
You're still backwards on this. Everybody's like, how's that helping America?
What people don't understand is that the source of America's blessings come from Israel.
That's right.
And as America continues to steer Israel in the right direction and actually solve the problems instead of perpetuating the problem,
exactly,
it will bring prosperity to America, blessing to America, peace to America. And if we just figure out a way to relocate the Gazans, that will bring a new era of blessing into the world.
Can I tell you 2 of my highest moments this week?
Hold on. I want to dive into this. I just want to make sure people watching, there's one thing you got to watch to the very end for.
Yeah.
And that is breaking news. The Israeli Knesset is promoting legislation to actually allow Israeli citizens to purchase land in Israel's heartland, meaning, Jeremy, if you're a Jew living in Judea, you could actually buy land in your own country. Wouldn't that be ironic?
The fact that it was illegal before is astounding.
It's been 60 years of, if I'm not a Muslim, I can't buy land in Judea. A Jew cannot buy land in Judea. Finally, we are fixing this ancient Jordanian anti-Semitic racist law, and it will change the face of Judea and Samaria forever, because now every Jew, every believer around the world, people can actually come in. And what is the word redemption really mean? meaning the word redemption. We're all waiting for Messiah to come. We're all waiting for this great day. But in the Torah, Geulah, redemption is just redeeming the land of Israel. It's literally just going to the land and liberating her, making her grow, making her flourish again. And now the gates are being opened that we can actually go in and redeem the land. That's one step closer, and it's amazing.
We're going to talk more about it. So that would be my third highlight was that.
But guys, you should go ahead and subscribe if you're watching or listening. Yeah. Sorry, I just got to get
you got to get all the details.
That invitation, guys. And we do want to hear from you. So many of you, hundreds of thousands watching the show so far and listening. So make sure you just follow, subscribe. We're coming out every single week, and let us know if you're excited about all this incredible content. So, Josh,
I'm too excited to share about this because this is my big highlight. You ready? Most people in the world looked at it and thought, "Oh, poor people." I was so thrilled when I saw the Gazans. They were going for the first time back to northern Gaza. The world was like, yes, they're finally getting to go home. And then, can we just pull that up real quick? This is what they got to when they arrived there. They were like, there's no home here.
There's nothing left.
There's nothing here. To me, that's amazing because we have a massive terror entity that's grown there, and the terrorists don't need to live on Israel's border. That's why I'm so excited about this moment. And so what did they do? They have other options.
Well, they
turned around
and left.
And they walked out. There's videos, hundreds of thousands of people now, of walking now south. They were going north to go back to something that they thought existed. I don't know where their head has been because obviously, where do you think Israel's been fighting for the last over a year? And now they're turning south, and now they're pleading with Egypt to let them out.
For people that haven't seen the clip, they have to watch and just look at what northern Gaza looks like.
It's insane.
Well, and we went to southern Gaza, we went to the Philadelphia corridor, and it looked the same. So, like, my question is, where in Gaza does it not look like? Like, it's literally a rubble heap.
80% of Gaza is totally destroyed.
Would not
leveled
be surprised,
to the ground.
Yeah, would not be surprised.
And that's after, more than a year of warfare. And now the people that want to go back to a home realize there's no home to return to. There is no infrastructure. There's no roofs over their heads. And so now we come to the reality of what do we do with these Gazans now? And it looks like President Trump has a few ideas.
Let's talk about that. But I want my second moment. I have to get to my second moment here because that led to the second moment is that Trump sent, or I just want to say it my way. The way I see it is that Trump sent bulldozers.
Look at this picture. Released bulldozers that were supposed to be sent under the Biden administration and were frozen as part of.
But bulldozers. Look at this. There's like how many bulldozers here? I mean, a good ton of bulldozers piled up here that came from America to do what?
Israel purchased them. Biden froze them, and then he unleashed them, and now they're back in Israel. Within 10 days, they're already here.
So let's put the dots together. Two of my favorite moments. Gaza is no longer a terror hub. It can't be because it's destroyed. Now the people that are living there, and we'll talk about that in a minute, the people and how many people we're actually talking about. And now that it's rubble, America is sending bulldozers to clear and to clean up the entire mess of Gaza that will then be rebuilt to be something beautiful without the monsters there.
Well, that's, I think, the key, meaning there are millions of people. I mean, there's a debate about actually how many people are in Gaza. Trump says totally. 1.5 million, but you were saying the United Nations said something else. What did the United Nations say?
Well, that's what in Trump's thing here. Let's where's that at? Trump said we should look at this real quick because Trump says right here. He says, and this is a post that
while you're looking
from
for that,
Twitter.
I'll just preface too. Like anytime the United Nations or Hamas or Fatah, Palestinian Authority, talk about numbers, population numbers, whether it's Gaza, the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, they're always way inflated, right? So you'd always just like take off a massive percentage and you'll get a lot closer to the truth. So if they say there's 2 million Palestinians in the West Bank, probably more like 1 million, maybe 1.5 million at the most. Gaza, what do they say? Do they say 3 million in the United Nations?
United Nations says it says 2/3 of the population of Gaza are refugees. 1.6 million are refugees, 2/3 of the population. So they're saying about, what is that, 2.2 or something like that?
2.2. 2.2 million would be the full. But I have a question. If the Gazans are the indigenous people of Gaza, why are 2/3 of them refugees? Meaning there's just so many lies on top of lies that obviously that is the land of Israel. Obviously Israel needs to be sovereign there. And the truth is we are still at a time of war. And people don't understand because hostages are being released. There's this ceasefire agreement that's sort of thrown things for a loop. But King Solomon says there's a time for peace and there's a time for war, and Israel is still at war. And it's been a very confusing war. I don't think you can name another country that has supplied utilities and large amounts of humanitarian aid to the other side's population. That's never happened before in war. So we've always been fighting this weird war with an entire people that are Hamas. And that's what people, I mean, the terrorist that was just released last week said, listen, there's about 1 million terrorists that are just walking throughout Gaza. In the same way that
Israeli hostages.
It's not that maybe they're not the fighters, meaning they're the same way that Israel are Israelis, Jews living in the land, and we have an IDF fighting force. The Hamas Gazans are Hamas, and Hamas are Gazans. And the real only way to win the war, the only solution that will bring long-lasting peace and prosperity to the region is to end civilization there. Because for 20 years, every school book, every mosque, every media outlet, everything has been Hamas. They are a people of Hamas that elected the Hamas, and undisputed leaders for 20 years have created an entire society with a Hamas ideology. So if you leave 500,000, you're going to have 500,000 Hamas in just a few more years.
Every Israeli hostage that's come out of Gaza since last November, pretty much every single one has talked about the civilian aspect of civilians being involved in holding them hostage. One of the women that was taken hostage to Gaza, she was dragged into Gaza by a man who she thought was a Hamas terrorist, right? She gets all the way to the entrance of a tunnel and realizes she's about to be taken underground. And then all of a sudden she realizes this guy negotiates with Hamas terrorists who just showed up and sold her to Hamas. So she realized she was dragged into captivity by a civilian who then sold her to Hamas, who then took her underground, and she was held by Hamas. But every single person, the epic hostage rescue that happened this past summer, or the last summer, right? They were being held by civilians, some of them held by UN workers and by UNRWA workers, right?
I mean, just imagine they were offered millions of dollars and a free passage outside of Gaza to peace and prosperity. And not one civilian was able to give any intel on any of the hostages being held because all of them believe in the Hamas ideology. All of them believe in jihad. They are on a jihadist culture. And really, it is to end the civilization there because the civilians are Hamas and Hamas are the civilians. So we need to say, civilians, it's time for you to go.
You sound a bit radical when you say that, but this goes right to what Trump's saying. You're talking about the lies, the misinformation. We talked about the population, Gaza. This is all also true for Judea and Samaria. There's a big fib out there of how many people actually there, and the UN, it's within their wants and their mission to exaggerate how many numbers because that helps them to support the cause against Israel. So this is what Trump says. Trump says, I'd like him to take people. And we'll keep reading here. I'd like Egypt to take people. You could just hear Trump saying this. I'm talking to General Al-Sisi tomorrow sometime, I believe. This is great. I love Trump, how he talks. I like Egypt to take people. And I'd like Jordan to take people. You're talking about 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing. And now over the centuries, it has many, many conflicts. And I don't know, something has to happen. It's literally a demolition site. Almost everything is demolished and people are dying there. So I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing at a different location where they can maybe live in peace for a change.
And I think that goes along.
You sounded real radical there, but you literally, Trump was leaving a little bit more radical.
Trump agrees with you.
I'm just quoting the president.
I think when he says they maybe could live in peace for a change, I think the key there is education. It might be the next generation that could maybe find peace, but it's all about the brainwashing, the ideology, because every single person in Gaza embraces terrorism. As far as we know, the Israeli hostage that came out last week said there's a million, did she say 1 million or 2 million? But basically every single person in Gaza is a terrorist, according to her. And she just spent 471 days.
Can I just say though,
Gaza.
that the fact that it's been expanded to 3 million down to 2 million, all those numbers are guesses because there's no infrastructure in that place.
The ministry of whatever in Gaza is controlled
They decide
by
the
Hamas.
Numbers. Yeah, how many people died in a rocket
When your
strike?
government is controlled by a terrorist organization, you don't trust anything
it's a
they
bunch
say or
of
do.
fibs. So Trump is obviously dealing with correct information. He's going to the sources. He has ability to know. I mean, come on, how many drones are over the top of Gaza right now? They know how many people are there. If they want to know, they know, right? And so 1.5 million is more likely, which means there's probably about 1.5 million here in Judea and Samaria as well. Those two numbers are much lower, and causes the situation to actually be doable. You could do something with those numbers, and it's not out of the woods to be able to come up with a solution like Trump's saying. Now, if you're moving millions and millions and millions of people, that's really tough. But if you're talking about 1.5 million, and he just knocked off 700,000 just like that, 800,000 just like that.
Egypt, if Egypt cooperates, they just walk over the border. There's 200 tunnels that go right underneath.
So this is really exciting to me, and those are my highlights for this week. These big moves that the President Trump is actually aligning with Israel Guys kind of ideology, which is
just the Israel Guys or the Land of Israel Network too.
The Land of Israel Guys.
Okay.
That's it.
But this ideology, it's rooted in biblical values. And that's what I'm excited about.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about, actually. Not only biblical values, but I really want to just give a biblical teaching about what's happening here in the land of Israel. Because there was only one promise that was made to Abraham, one promise made to Isaac, and one promise made to Jacob. And the entire world spins on this one axis. Everything that happens is that promise going to be fulfilled or not? That's it. And what was that one promise? It was the land of Israel. But so many people don't even know what the land of Israel is. So what I want to do is I want to show this short clip here. What and where exactly is the land of Israel? And then I want to take a bird's eye view and look at what's happening right now in Gaza, in the Abraham Accords, Saudi Arabia. Check this out. What exactly is the land of Israel? Where exactly are the borders of the land of Israel? If we can't envision it, if we can't see it, we can't pray for it, and we'll never achieve it. The Bible makes it very clear. Genesis chapter 15, verse 18, from the river Egypt to the great Euphrates River. Exodus 23, verse 31. I have set your borders from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the desert to the Euphrates. This here is Eretz Israel. This is the land of Israel. So the reason why that map is so important for people to see, to know is, I just asked you before I show you a picture of Florida, everyone can recognize, oh, that's Florida. See a picture of Ohio. People know that's Ohio. Georgia. People actually know what states in America look like, but the biblical promised land, people can't even recognize it because it's just not politically correct. But what President Trump has done is he's expanded our vision, that it doesn't need to be taken in war and in violence. But who was the first promise given to? It was given to Abraham. And what are his accords called?
The Abraham Accords.
The Abraham Accords. And so can you imagine it will actually span from Gaza, which is right in the heart of it all. It's like right in the middle of the land where the eye of the storm, it's like the hotbed of the most jihadists, the most evil. When we saw October 7th, we just saw a glimpse into the barbarism and the absolute evil that could be unleashed in the world. And strategically, the land of Israel has been positioned in between Africa and Europe and Asia, inside the Hezbollah, the Hamas, Assad, inside a sea of terror and tyranny and illiterate jihadists. And if we're able to bring a light to the nations around us, world peace is only one step closer.
And to be clear, like we're not when we're talking about the biblical map of Israel and the promises God made to Abraham, we're not, you're not sitting here saying Israel's going to go take over Saudi Arabia or Iran tomorrow, or Jordan or whatever. This is part of God's promise to Abraham. And if Israel normalizes relations with Saudi Arabia tomorrow, that could be part of Abraham's promise, right?
Exactly.
And it literally could be part of the Abraham Accords. And that goes right along with what you just said.
Yeah, I think something
Israel
fundamental
being the light to the nations. They could be a light to all of these countries, which historically 100% of the time has brought peace to everyone involved.
The Israel Summit is the most important live gathering that will happen this year in the United States, bringing every believer in the Bible together, Jews, Christians, and everything in between, with guest speakers of the highest order from Judea, from Samaria, the truth from Israel, unadulterated in a way that you can experience only one time a year. So you should come this year and sign up today.
Well, I think we have to realize that Abraham is much different than the world leaders that people are looking at. And they're saying, oh, we got a Putin look. He wants to, we have these characters, North Korea. They want to take it looks like they're aiming to take the world. And now the world has this lens where they're looking at Israel as another player on that scenario. Can you correct that? Because that is not what we're saying. Israel wants to bring light and truth to the world. And by having a peace, Abrahamic peace with neighbors that Israel envelops is not world domination. It's a light. Explain that more, because I think I just had the thought now. It's like it's different.
It's bringing people together. And there's two things that I want to say to that. The first thing is I'm willing to right now sign on the dotted line, bet my last dollar that the cure for cancer is not going to come from Gaza. It's not. But perhaps maybe the cure for cancer will come from Israel. And if we work together,
statistically, there's a high chance.
A high chance that it's not going to come from Gaza. I'm pretty sure
there's a high chance it will come
from
Israel.
That it really might come from Israel. Imagine instead of developing Iron Dome technologies and military complexes, we actually focused all of our efforts on fixing the world. Who knows? It could be that Israel can very much model the United States of America. And it's interesting because the United States of America, there's two ways to say it in the Hebrew language. One is America. That's the slang.
Right.
But then the actual official language of Hebrew calls America Aratzot Habrit, the lands of the covenant. Now, America, one time there was a civil war. There were states that were fighting for their own independence. And at one point they said, no, it's better for us to be a lands of the covenant. It's meant for us to work together with one competent leader that will actually take care of all of these 50 states. Now, if the world were to just operate based on goodness, morality, justice, then if a leader arose, that would really be worthwhile, that he would bring blessing, prosperity, and peace to the region. There is no reason why we couldn't have lands of the covenant under the Abraham Accords, under our father Abraham, that is called to be the father of many nations. He wasn't just called to be the father of the Jews. He's the father of every Jew. He's the father of every Christian. He's the father of every Muslim. He is the father of many nations. That's literally what Avraham means. And so that vision, when you look at what the Abraham Accords are doing and what's happening right now in Gaza, that when we have an evil entity that is trying to kill us within our own promised land, they need to be removed. And I've said this before, and I want to say it again. There are 3 S's: sovereignty, settlement, that will bring security. That's it. It's very simple. You attack us from within our land, you need to be removed from the land. And we need to settle it, declare sovereignty, and that will bring security. And what's beautiful about this administration is that they are actually trying to solve problems.
Yeah.
Because America, up until now, it was seen as their interest to keep Israel weak, to keep Israel embroiled in a never-ending war. It helps their military-industrial complex. They'll sell weapons. Israel will continue to develop new technologies that then they'll be able to use. But Trump is saying, no, we just want to build what he now calls a new Riviera in Gaza. And what does he want to do? He wants to invite maybe Saudi Arabia, maybe the Emirates, to invest in Gaza, to rebuild it in a totally different way. Now, my only caveat is saying that needs to be Israel's, not Saudi Arabia's, not the Emirates. Yeah. That's clear. Israel's land. And they can have a tax-free zone. They can be incentivized to invest. They can make money, but that's going to be under Israel's security control, political control. That land belongs to Israel.
Your map is so intriguing to me for just a second, because it seems like we're in the middle of if what you've just said is correct, we're in the middle of a biblical war.
Exactly.
Because the war that's going on right now is exactly on the grounds of that map you just laid out. For the most part, we're talking about even right now, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Syria. And we're not talking about all of Lebanon and all of Syria. Literally the places that IDF has worked in since this war is like on the borders of that map.
You're exactly right. And I think that is the entire purpose of our work here at the Land of Israel, guys. It is to shift the narrative that people think that Israel exists because of the Holocaust and this war is about the 1967 borders and because of some sort of political reality. Everything that happens in Israel is because of the Bible. Everything that happens in Israel is from God. And we are a part of a process. And a history is unfolding before our very eyes. And there is no better way to understand this than a biblical war. And that's what's unfolding is actually biblical destiny. And when you think about where we were just a year ago, and where we are today, there are Druze communities in the Bashan, which are the northern tip of that biblical land of Israel. And in Soeda, which is kind of on the border of Jordan, which is more like along the Euphrates, right there on the southeast part of Syria. And they are begging Israel to annex their lands because they're so scared of the jihadis that are now taking over in Syria. And they're saying, Israel, take control. Please, we want to be a part of Israel. And it's as if things are unfolding without Israel even wanting to. In 1967, Israel didn't want Jerusalem.
Right.
Jordan attacked Israel and forced us to retake the Temple Mount and to retake Israel. But that's what needs to happen. To me, what needs to happen is King Solomon writes like this: without vision, the nation will perish. Mm-hmm. We need to have a vision of what we're trying to achieve here in the land of Israel. Until now, we've just been striving for normalcy. Let's just be a nation like all other nations. Let's just relax. Let's just build an economy. And it's like, no, we are at a biblical war for Israel's destiny. We're here to bring world peace. We're here to change the entire game. If we speak with that kind of language and we make decisive action, Trump will roll with that. He appreciates strong men. He appreciates the leaders. He's even friends with Erdogan from Turkey. He says it himself because he is a strong man. If Israel showed strong leadership based on the Bible, I think that would only go over well with their new Secretary of Defense,
of course,
with the new ambassador, and really with the world.
So a couple more things about Gaza before we move on. And So first of all, Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, who helped negotiate the hostage release deal, the ceasefire deal with Hamas that we're currently in the middle of, he just landed in Israel from Saudi Arabia. By the way, there's also news that Israel's new ambassador to the United States is saying Israel's closer to normalization with Saudi Arabia than people think, and probably why Steve Witkoff was in Saudi Arabia. He lands in Israel and meets with Netanyahu, and then he and Ron Dermer, a minister in Netanyahu's government, go to the Netzarim corridor, which is the corridor in Gaza that separates north and south, basically. If I read correctly, as a U.S. administration official hasn't visited Gaza for like at least 15 years.
Since the disengagement, no one has gone.
So this is crazy. And then obviously there's not a lot of details about why he's in Gaza, but because of the news about Trump talking so much about relocating
Can we say
Gazans,
the news with Trump sending bulldozers is maybe why he's going to spy out what's going on?
When I first saw the headlines about Trump saying he wanted to relocate Gazans, it was like obviously kind of like, who knows? That seems far-fetched. I don't know. It seems a little more serious, right?
Well, only because of the bulldozers am I like so excited. I'm like, he's literally bulldozing Gaza.
It was Witkoff that first floated the idea of moving them to Indonesia. And so there's a few countries that have been floated out there: Indonesia, Egypt, Jordan, Albania. And so I think a new idea would be Javier Milei from Argentina. He is an absolute friend of Israel. And now I don't want to curse Argentina with Hamas jihadists, but there are other countries in South America that have received many Arabs from many different countries and maybe like a safe haven for them to just land in Argentina temporarily and then have them be dispersed to the different pro-Hamas countries that are down there. Get them far away from the land of Israel. And South America is about as far as you can get. And so I think that actually working in some sort of strategic alliance with someone who is so naturally pro-Israel and would love to help solve Israel's problem, that's an idea that I haven't heard yet, but it's first here on the Land of Israel, guys.
There you go. Well, if Trump's watching, maybe we'll see. Yeah, right. But one more thing I want to say about the idea of relocating Gazans, because I can just hear, the haters in my head going, this is a hateful thing. Don't you even care about the people of Gaza? Don't they have rights? I don't know if you've seen, and we've showed on, and we'll show some more, like Gaza right now. I don't even think like rubble heap or trash heap is a good enough term. Like Gaza is no more. There is no Gaza. Even if they start rebuilding today, it's going to be years and years. And what's the end result going to be? Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, basically terrorists reigning. If you care about the people of Gaza at all, and Trump said that he wants Gazans to have a chance to live in peace. If you care about them at all and hope for them to have a future, they should be relocated, because that is the only chance they have at maybe their children or their grandchildren having an opportunity to reverse the brainwashing, to reverse the education, the psychology, and to not live under terrorism. Because if Gaza is rebuilt, it's going to be controlled by terrorists. There's not even a 99% chance. There's a 100% chance that's going to happen.
Luke, what I just want to add to your point is that this is not the only time. This is how you take out terrorism. This is not the only city in the world that has been absolutely destroyed because of terrorism. America fought 20 years against ISIS and all these different terror groups across the Middle East. Yeah. And what did they do? They absolutely destroyed cities. This is the first time maybe the world knows about it because Jews are doing it, and they hate the fact that Jews are fighting terrorists because they hate Jews more than terrorists, and that's an underlying anti-Semitic problem that we're dealing with. But I just want to say, even in Egypt, we're talking about like a few meters apart from each other. The ISIS engaged on them. We did a whole show on this. ISIS engaged right on that Egyptian border. And what did the Egyptians do? They obliterated it. The Israelis don't even know this. They literally obliterated the ISIS infrastructure. You can go on Google Maps right now and you see it's more destroyed than Gaza right now. There's still work to be done. Trump's bulldozers have not finished the job yet. The work that was done by Egypt that the world had no earthly idea about, because they care less, because they don't really care about the people. Right? They hate Jews, and so they want to rework all of this into a Jew hating. Oh, you just the Jews are bad. The fact is this is how you rid terrorism from your country, because these evil beast of people, they root themselves inside the infrastructure. They go inside the communities and they root themselves. They dig tunnels, like digging down into the ground and infesting the whole area. You can't just fight it like a normal war.
I mean, the tunnels are larger than London's underground. Yeah. And that's a national project. That's not a little terrorist organization that did that. That are the people of Gaza collectively are responsible for creating such a civilization of absolute chaos. Meaning what they see now with the rubble and the destruction is the outcome of a force of chaos in the world. Yeah. And we're called to build a kingdom. We're called to fix the world, to build the world, to make the world better. And there is a counterforce to that. That is literally a force of chaos and destruction. And we can just see the destruction that they brought upon themselves.
So what my point is that Israel is massive. Israel is part of the free world, freeing the world from these horrific acts of terrorism. That has to go. Just the fact that Israel is doing it, this is probably the largest encounter, Gaza, this war that we've been facing for the last over a year, is one of the largest encounters of directly facing this terrorism head on. obliterating it from the land of Israel. And this, like you said, is going to go abroad. This is how it affects the United States. We fight terrorism together. The world eradicates this evil from the world. And this is going to affect the entire world, not just this little place that we're talking about in Gaza.
So many people have died since October 7th. And there's some people that represent ideas. And I just want to share this one story about Vivian Silver. She was a Canadian Israeli. She dedicated her life to helping families in Gaza. She organized programs to help Gazan workers in Israel, drove them to Israeli hospitals, joined the anti-Israel organization B'Tselem, really like an enemy of Judea and Samaria. She founded an organization called Women Wage Peace. And as a part of her work, she led tours of the Israeli-Gaza border. And on October 7th, the residents of Gaza came in and took her out of her home. They didn't kidnap her, they murdered her. And it took months to just identify who she was by the absolute nothing that was left of her body that was burned. And so imagine a person that was so dedicated to helping the Gazans. She became an idea that those residents came in and did that. There is no room. Golda Meir said, you cannot negotiate peace with somebody who has come to kill you. That is just words of wisdom. The Torah says, if someone comes to kill you, you have to rise up and kill them first. And so us just demolishing Gaza, that there is nowhere to go back to. They can walk back to the north if they want, but there's nowhere to sleep tonight. So now they're going back south because we had to show them and show ourselves that when evil rises up, we don't run away from it, we obliterate it. Prophecy of the end of days says the Torah will go forth from Zion and the word of God from Jerusalem. If you're interested in learning Torah from Zion, from the Jewish people in the land of Israel, and you'd like to join our global community from over 50 countries that have so many cultures and so many religions and so many backgrounds and so many languages, all of us together with one heart for Israel, you should check out the Land of Israel Fellowship on thelandofisrael.com.
I just had a thought. Can we get some Trump bulldozers possibly to come to the Judea and Samaria area as well?
Well, I think that is the next front.
Talking about the bulldozers.
Yeah. I'm like, this is amazing. The fact that it would be so practical. This is how you rid your area. Recognizing what it is. They're terror beds that are so ingrained and so embedded, you have to destroy them. And the fact that the free world is recognizing it now, I'm so excited.
Well, I'll tell you why it's a deep recognition. A few months ago, Germany, in the middle of the war, even more than a few months ago, changed its policy on how it accepts immigrants into Germany. Yeah. They would ask them questions. What are your opinion about Jews? And what's your opinion about Israel? If they answered an anti-Semitic answer or an anti-Israel answer, sorry, you cannot become a German citizen. And now with the new executive order that Trump is saying he's going to find all of the people. Imagine the arrogance as they were ripping off the posters of hostages. And they were just so proud of that, putting it up on TikTok. And now their faces are all recorded for everyone to see. And I'm sure that they are freaking out now.
Of course they are.
Because there is a judge and there is judgment. But what Germany and what America under this new leadership recognizes is that if you love the Jews and you love Israel, you're going to be a force that will build civilization. If you are anti-Israel, you're going to be a force of chaos, and we don't want you in our country. We don't want you to receive citizenship. We want to deport you. And so it's more than just helping us in Israel within our own struggle against jihad. It is literally liberating the entire world.
Do we know where Trump is deporting these people?
Okay, so U.S., just to give some context here, Trump already signed an executive order that
just like today or yesterday, right? It just happened.
Just happened.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hamas supporters, or basically anybody who is on a visa and broke U.S. law, but it's targeting pro-Hamas supporters, pro-Hamas protesters. So now, and obviously, like you think, oh, he's targeting people unfairly. No, he's targeting people that broke the law. And he's saying, but he's saying, he's recognizing, he actually said, quote, the attacks of October 7th unleashed a wave of unprecedented wave of vile anti-Semitic discrimination, vandalism, and violence against our citizens, especially in our schools and on our campuses. Jewish students have faced an unrelenting barrage of discrimination, denial of access to campus common areas and facilities, including libraries and classrooms, and intimidation, harassment, and physical threats and assault. Trump's now saying, yes, I'm targeting you, and I have a right to because you're on a visa. You're not even an American citizen. You're on a visa, and you're breaking U.S. law, specifically targeting Jews and engaging in acts of anti-Semitism. If you're going to do that, you're out of here. We don't want you.
To add to that, most of them were burning American flags as well.
Yeah,
I mean, they weren't just.
Well, that's a no-brainer. Right. That's just common sense. That like if you engage in pro-Hamas acts, you're not just anti-Israel, anti-Semitic. You're anti-American.
Well, someone sent me this video of President Trump as he was working to be elected, making this promise to the Jewish people. Check this out.
We will deport the foreign jihad sympathizers, and we will deport them very quickly, and Hamas supporters will be gone. If you hate America, if you want to eliminate Israel, then we don't want you in our country. We really don't want you in our country. I will ban refugee settlements from terror-infested areas like the Gaza Strip, and we will arrest the pro-Hamas thugs who vandalize federal property and make really life very, very difficult in this country for a lot of people.
Well, you see here, it's not just about breaking American law. It is specifically standing with Israel and with the Jewish people. What happened after October 7th was so shocking because beacons of the academia and the elites in America, in Harvard, in Columbia, came out with this vitriol, hatred toward Israel and the Jews, and anti-Semitism spiked all across the country. It hit an all-time high in the United States. And President Trump is saying, never am I going to allow that under my rulership. And to me, that is a great reflection for Israel, because October 7th revealed who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And you would expect people to stand with, oh, look at these poor Jews. Look, they're being burned alive. They're being killed by the Hamas. They kidnapped children. Those are really bad guys. And the exact opposite happened. All of a sudden, all of the Jew hatred came out in force, and they were parading through the streets, calling to globalize the Intifada and to bring that October 7th to America and to Australia and to really bring that reign of darkness to the world. And now that Israel is rising up again, and we've renamed the word, the war that's rising up, and we're kind of like becoming the lion that we were always destined to be, everything is now coming back into order, and people are starting to respect us again. And it's like we are realigning ourselves with our true destiny. And it seems like Trump is right in line with that.
Which just goes right to show that Bibi, the first person that Trump wants to meet with, is just it. Not only is Israel aligning itself, America is also aligning itself in the correct. To have Israel as your first country that you're going to meet with is so biblical again. Like every country should. It's so symbolic of the aligning that's happening that I'm excited about. Honestly, I think most of the people were really concerned about what's happening. The situation in America was really dim and dark and hard, and to see alignment happening here where Israel is supported and the free world is given there's some light coming out. I'm super excited about these kind of actions being taken place, and I can see the freedom that it's going to bring and the blessing that it is to the people of Israel can only have a blessed effect on the nation of America.
Totally. I'll tell you a lesson that I learned when I learned about the 6-Day War. Levi Eshkol was the prime minister, and America absolutely did not want Israel to go to war.
Right.
And Israel went to war, and we liberated Gaza in a day and a half. Judea, Samaria, Sinai, the Golan Heights. We freed Jerusalem from foreign rule in 6 days, and it was the most legendary war in human history. Who wins a war in 6 days? Now we have this war just in Gaza, a little bit of Lebanon and Syria, and it's been more than a year. In 6 days, we had just changed the face of the Middle East, and that was without one American gun. Yeah. Without anyone's support. And then what happened once Israel's true nature came out? The broad support for Israel. Everyone lined up. President Nixon lined up. All of a sudden, then everyone wanted to be friends with Israel. And that is a lesson that Israel has to internalize.
Yeah.
That if we are strong, the world will respect us for being strong. Because when we're strong, God is strong. And when we're weak, we represent God in the world. And people hate us when we're weak. And so when we realize what we represent in people's subconscious and conscious minds, it demands of us to not only be faithful people, but to be courageous people and to rise up and do what needs to be done.
And I think that's the bottom line here is like, we're not sitting here saying Israel should rely on America's foreign aid or America should put Israel before America, all these America first people. I'm like, great. You do realize that America, the best possible thing for America is for Israel and America to be key allies, right? But bottom line is like, we want Israel to be strong. Make your own decisions. Do what you need to do. I think a key good example is something you brought up, Jeremy, if you want to talk about this, is that Israel is now saying they're about to kick UNRWA out. Like the agencies that's responsible for keeping millions of Arabs refugees for decades and decades and successive generations now, and also responsible for participating in terrorism, teaching jihad, hiding Israeli hostages inside Gaza. Israel's saying, we don't want you in our country anymore.
They're banning them from the country and telling them to exit Jerusalem and all of their facilities now.
That just happened this week.
So Trump to be clear, Trump is banning pro-Hamas supporters that are breaking American law. Israel's finally saying to UNRWA, the special UN agency that was created just to keep Arab refugees and keep them prisoners, Israel's saying, get out of our land. So we're making good decisions here. Israel's standing on their two own feet.
All in 1 week. I'm telling you what, this has been a heck of a week.
It's head spinning. I'll tell you something that's happening in the heart of Israelis. And it's really happened since October 7th. Israelis lived with a sense that there's something much larger than them that's protecting them. And it's called the State of Israel. It's called the Army of Israel. And in came October 7th, and there was hours where the army wasn't responding.
Weren't there.
And all of a sudden, Israel realized that this state that we rely on so much can't really be relied on. And we have to really rely on ourselves and rely on God. And the reason why Israel is such a hopeful future is because a country is made up of its people. Just like a company or an organization, what makes a company successful? It just means that they've collected a great group of people, and that's what they've made. That company is made up of those people, and those people are going to win because those people are super competent, really skillful, and they know how to get things done, and that company will be successful by the people that are in it. Israel has attracted the most courageous, the most persevering, the most innovative, the most intelligent, the most awesome people in the world are attracted to Israel. The most awesome people in the world are watching this show. I'm telling you, it's a magnet that brings the greatest people together.
Well, it's not even a bias. You're saying this. There's like facts to go behind it. Why are all these international inventions that are changing the world coming out of the state of Israel?
100%. And what we see is that it's a sifting process, meaning the weak among Israel have left. The strong, what Luke said, well, I'll never forget. It's like, there are bombs that are being shot on Israel. Why aren't I there? It's like Luke wanted to come back as the Iranians are shooting the largest ballistic missile attack in world history. Luke wanted to be here for that, meaning it's pulling the righteous. It's pulling the courageous. And that means in 5 years from now, there will be a Riviera that will challenge any Riviera around the world. As long as Israel stays true to keeping the land promised to us, and we stay true to that against all odds and against all pressure, we can dictate the terms by just being strong. When we are weak, when we capitulate, it invites pressure to make us leave more.
Yeah.
And so when we're strong and we show the world who we really are, that will only bring more respect and more blessing.
Amen. Okay, so one last big story we have to cover before we wrap up, and that is Israel's parliament is actually advancing law to allow Israeli citizens to purchase land in Judea and Samaria. Now, before everybody watching starts scratching their heads and going like, duh, Jeremy, can you explain this to us?
It's like, why? Breaking news, Americans can buy land in America now. It's like,
Jeremy,
what happened?
Living in Judea, why can't you buy land in Judea and Samaria for the last 60 plus years?
I think because Israelis, in their kind of striving to be normal, were at some way thinking that one day Judea and Samaria will become some form of a Palestinian state, God forbid, some sort of entity that we don't have to deal with. And so there was a Jordanian law that said Jews cannot purchase land in Judea and Samaria because the West Bank, it's the West Bank of Jordan. Jordan occupied the land, not Palestine. It was like Jordan were the rulers of this land before 1948 and 1967. And so that law, they just kind of continued that racist law saying, well, that was the law in Jordan. Let's just continue it now for 60 years into Israel. But now,
which that law was based on being Muslim.
Of course.
That's the basis of that law. If you're not Muslim, you're not allowed. That's how Arab countries work. It's very much so. It's not Israel.
It's
not
democracy.
Where you come. There's no democracy
there.
Exactly. So just making that clear.
Yeah, of course. And so for years, because the more the Jews buy land in Judea and Samaria, the more that we settle the land, then making a quagmire. Like, how are we going to create a Hamas country here in the mountains if the Jews are settling all the mountains of Israel? And so it was in the country's interest, or so it seemed, to just let that Jordanian law continue on its way, to not allow too much Jewish settlement in Judea in case we need the poker chips to capitulate to the Hamas and broker a deal and cut out our heartland and give it to the terrorists. And now people are realizing that you here in Har Bracha, us in the Arugot farm, we are the bulletproof vest that has been protecting all of Israel and Jerusalem for all of these years. And we had to fight against our own country to settle that land. And we had to fight against the courts, and we had to fight against the international pressure. But now America has passed a law, or is passing a law, that you're not allowed to call it the West Bank anymore. You have to call it Judea and Samaria. And the sanctions that were put on the farmers in Judea and Samaria, they've been removed, and sanctions have been put back on the International Criminal Court, meaning everything now is being realigned and justice is finally being done in the land of Israel.
So sorry, you finished. Well, just to explain a little more context, because a lot of people could be watching and they're like, well, the West Bank is not part of Israel, right? Or the occupied territories. We're not talking about annexation. We're not talking about foreign territory, because you think Jordanian law, well, that must be Jordan has some claim to this, right? Jordan occupied Judea and Samaria for 19 years, 1948 to 1967. They tried to annex it. Great Britain and Pakistan, I think, recognized it, but none of the rest of the world recognized it. Israel liberated these areas in 1967, and then in 1980-something, in the 1980s, Jordan released they actually officially publicly said, we have no claim to Judea and Samaria or East Jerusalem anymore. Basically, now it's become a no man's land, right? Israel has been here since 1967. They are the sovereign. The sovereigns here.
Rulers.
Israelis have lived here. But what has not happened? Israel's never applied sovereign law, and they've left a lot of leftover old laws from Jordan and even some Ottoman Turkish laws in these areas. And so that's why you have this crazy scenario going on.
If you boil it down, I believe there's 7 different different law sets that apply to this area still, going back hundreds of years.
Have figured out how to buy land, and literally they have to send lawyers to like Jordan to look back in the archives of the Ottoman Turkish Empire and Jordanian law. Like, it's just crazy. Israel's sovereign here. There's 800,000 Jews living in Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, and yet Israel's never applied sovereign law, and so nobody could purchase land in Judea and Samaria until now.
Here's what I love. The Gazans are the indigenous people of Gaza, but 2/3 of them are refugees. That's one thing. And I'm just like a simple guy. Jews are from Judea. Arabs are from Arabia. It's just very simple. And so Jews being in Judea, Jews being able to purchase land in Judea, there's nothing more natural than that. And so it's just restoring order to what always should have been. And because the axis of the entire world spins around this land, in the destiny of this land, there's a reason why Hayovel brings thousands of volunteers to Israel to do what? To help farmers make this land flourish, cultivate the land, develop the land, let the mountains of Israel be fruitful again, because everything revolves around the land of Israel. And that's why this show should be called The Land of Israel, guys.
Can I just add to that is that the fabulous thing about this whole thing is that when Jews can buy land in Judea and Samaria, we've put up a facade for so long. Israel has put up this facade that's been mistranslated. It's a Western facade that they thought would work worldwide. It does not work here. And that is that when you say Jews can't buy land in Judea, that sends a clear message to every Arab in the entire world, it's not theirs. Right. It's ours. we're expanding our borders, and we will take all of Israel. That's what you've heard for years and years and years, including since 1967. When Israel won the war, they didn't actually win the war. They did not win the war because they did not make that clear. They did not sign sovereign papers over this land. They did not make it clear. They left it open. They left it open, and Arabs across the entire Arab world said, that's ours. By saying Jews can now buy land in Judea, no racist law here. It's not saying only Jews can buy land in Judea. It's saying anybody that lives in the nation of Israel, which includes all the categories you mentioned earlier, Christians, Arabs, and Muslims, doesn't matter because it's not a racist state. You've sent a clear message to the racist,
right?
To the people who said only Muslims could buy here. This is not your land. This is Jewish land. And in a way, you're saying Jewish law will now apply because, so maybe it's a soft sovereignty. It's not full sovereignty, but it is indeed a soft sovereignty opening here.
Well, I'll tell you what I love about that is that right now it's in the hands of the Jewish people.
Right.
It really is. Right now it's in the hands of the Jewish. If the Jewish people gather together like we did in the early Zionist days, there were little blue boxes that were passed around Jewish communities, and people just put in money to buy land in Israel. And that's really what the JNF, so much of the land that was purchased by Jews simply just raising money to buy up land in Israel.
That's all the big cities of Israel today were all started
of the
way
cities,
back
all of the forests, everything here. And so right now, it's like an invitation to Jews in Texas, to Jews in New York, to Jews in LA, to Jews in Tel Aviv, saying this is our opportunity. You don't need to declare sovereignty if you own
buy
it.
land,
This law passes, and I will tell you, there are those that are aligned with the Muslim agenda to destroy and kill Jews and to eradicate Jewish presence from the land of Israel. Guess what they're doing? Right now, as I speak, they're leaving, which means
we're winning.
And Jews are going to have some houses to buy.
Yeah,
well, I love that. People are wanting another example of literally 10 days in now, and Israel's just standing so strong on their feet. Israel's government is feeling so much stronger.
We're getting really excited about this, but this law only passed first phase of
first
three.
Reading?
First reading. But it's like it was put in the ministerial committee. There's a lot of support for this because everyone realizes the future of Israel is Judea and Samaria. Without Judea and Samaria, Israel's borders are 9 miles wide. That's indefensible. It's the mountain region. Imagine how hard this war was in Gaza on a flat area next to the sea.
Do we have a time frame
for when the law will pass?
Yeah. Do we know?
Weeks, months?
Weeks,
very
months?
Soon. Yeah.
I'm calling this soft sovereignty.
Great.
Soft sovereignty.
It's like a slow. That's another. It's a slow thing.
It's a slow process.
4 S's now.
That's where we're at. And I just only now understood what the power of that law passing means. Yeah. Like it's actually.
It's a game changer.
It's
Is it up there with bulldozers or like?
It's close, but the bulldozers haven't come to Judea and Samaria yet.
Yeah.
That's
what you're looking for.
Soft
sovereignty with bulldozers.
That's more hard sovereignty.
Okay, Jeremy. I don't think today's episode would be complete without a little bit of Torah. You got something for us?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that. What does it mean to be a believer? To be a believer in God means that everything is one and everything happens for a purpose and everything happens for your good. God runs everything. Nothing is a coincidence. In fact, in Hebrew, coincidence is mikre, which just means an occurrence. But those are the same letters as rak me'Hashem, only from God. So Hebrew is teaching us that every occurrence is really only from God. And in this week's Torah portion, it says, Bo el Paro, come to Paro. And it's like, come to Paro. It's like, go to Paro. Why is it saying come? And God is really saying to Moses, listen, I stand behind Pharaoh. Come with me. Don't worry. Every challenge that you're facing, I really stand behind that challenge because everything that happens to you happens for you. And I'm 45 years old. I've never experienced a war like this in my lifetime. But I see that Israel now is stronger, more independent, more faithful, more courageous. They have grown into a nation that is much closer to the nation that God dreamed us up to be. Mm-hmm. And so everything that happens to us, even if it's the challenge, God is really saying, come with me to Pharaoh. Don't worry. I'm behind that challenge. And just seeing Trump has been in power for 10 days and like the blink of an eye, everything is being flipped upside down now. And so I'm not saying to put our trust in President Trump. Our trust should only be in ourselves and in God. But it seems as though things are aligning and we are being given the opportunity of a lifetime to settle, sovereignty, security, this is our chance. And so with that, every challenge that happens to us happens for us. May we see that and may we live that.
Amen.
That's right. Guys, if you enjoyed that, you can get more Torah with Jeremy Gimpel and Ari Abramowitz in the Land of Israel Network. They have the Land of Israel Fellowship, weekly gathering of people to talk about the Bible, right? And we'll put the link for that in the description below. You should definitely check that out and join the Land of Israel Fellowship. Also, want to remind you, registration for the upcoming Israel Summit with Jeremy Gimpel, with Ari Abramowitz, with the Land of Israel Network is open right now. Link is in the description below, and you want to go ahead and get tickets because registration is 25% off right now, but it's not going to last. You want to get those tickets while you can. Guys, so happy to have you with us. Let us know what you think about today's topics in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe or follow along on whatever platform or channel you're watching or listening on. Josh, good to be with you. Jeremy, good to be with you. Hopefully Ari will be back with us next week. Guys, as always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth and the reality of what's happening in the Land of Israel. We'll be back next week here at the Israel Guys and the Land of Israel Network.